I gotta take my dog out.
Oh, I have to let my dog out too. Blake, you want to go outside?
I was trying to be funny, but I wasn't clicking quick enough.
But welcome to Blake Street Banter, where one of us knows what the word banter means. The other two are just along for the ride. We are here with Jeff Dooley, the Director of Broadcasting and Media Relations for the Hartford Yard Goats. And in his spare time, he is also the voice of your Hartford University men's and women's basketball team. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, guys. Good to be here with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Just talking a little baseball in the off season, see what we can get to. So I want to start with, you've been part of the Yard Goats for a few ownership transitions I saw. Last 20, 25 years. How did you get started on all this?
Well, when I got out of college, I went to a small college in Maine, St. Joseph's College, and realized when I was in school there that this is what I want to do for a career. I wanted to be a broadcaster. So I wasn't good enough to play, and I thought it'd be kind of cool, whatever sport it was, to follow it closely as the play-by-play voice. So from doing college basketball as a voice at first at Bryant College in Rhode Island, and then Brown University, and then really opened up when I got the New Britain Rockcats job at the time back in 1998. And as Rocky fans know, for a season, the Rockies were affiliated with the Rockcats. For years, they were a Minnesota Twins affiliate. And then the final season of baseball in New Britain in 2015, we became an affiliate of the Colorado Rockies. That was the team that had Trevor Story and Carlos Estevez and some other play. David Dahl was on the team. So they had pretty good players that came out. So a couple of ownership changes, and we made the transition from New Britain to a beautiful ballpark downtown Hartford, Dunkin' Donuts Park, and made the transition with the team. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's certainly a pleasure getting to see some of these young prospects come up in the Rockies organization.
So my first question is, what kind of perks do you get from Dunkin' Donuts?
Once in a while, we do get some nice perks, which is nice. A nice gift card from Dunkin', but it is cool. I mean, you talk about the great thing about baseball is all ballparks, it seems, have something that's unique, whether it's a rookie level team or a major league team. And one of the cool things I think at Dunkin' Donuts Park, there's a gigantic cup. You may have seen pictures of it that sits above the video board out in left field. And it steams when the Yard Goats hit a home run. So that's it's pretty unique. People in the Northeast love their Dunkin' Donuts, and for our fans to see that thing, shoot out steam when the Goats hit a home run is kind of cool and certainly unique for the folks around here.
That is awesome. So I was listening to you say your story, how you got to where you are now. Like, you kind of went up the ranks. Is that pretty much how the play-by-play announcing works? I'm assuming your end goal is to be in the majors, right? And
it is, yeah. I mean, that's the dream.
How the process works.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Yeah, and then kind of the path of the players too. Most of the broadcasters at the major league level have gone at some point through the minor leagues. Depending on the market and organization, but I would say most of them, go through the ranks. So yeah, it's a lot of the same for the broadcasters. But baseball is just so unique, where you can learn so much during the course of a season, and to kind of hone your craft. And baseball is so much different on radio in compared to football and basketball, which is hockey, which are much quicker paced. Where baseball, you've got a chance to carve out stories and really get into backgrounds of the players. And I think really a great forum to talk about what some of these guys have done to get where they are today. The cool thing about at the higher levels of the minor leagues, the AA and AAA, you've got all your game notes and everything, but these guys have had, at this point, by the time they reach Hartford, they've all had so many stories written about them. You can basically throw them in Google, and you got 5 or 6 pretty good nuggets that you can use at broadcast. So it does make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how, whether you're an announcer or a player or in professional life, you have to grind everything out, So I'm just curious what your advice would be to, the young aspiring media broadcasters out there.
Well, it's a great way to learn, earn a living, if you get the opportunity. But it is a grind. And I always say, especially in the baseball side of it, it's more than a job and a career. It's a lifestyle. You play 142 games in about 160 days. So there are no holidays. There's travel and games on the 4th of July. And I mean, I can't tell you how many, times I've been away, whether it's baseball or basketball, away from your family. So it's sacrificing you're making and your family's making as well. So there's certainly some challenges with that. But that being said, I mean, it is a great way to, you go to a ballpark every day and you have great relationships and, you get to meet a lot of these guys before they're rock stars and, gigantic billionaires and signing these outrageous contracts. So you get to see them coming up and, guessing maybe that, wow, this guy was pretty good when he was a yard goat. What happened to him? Or guys that, maybe have gone through that have been very average players. And then you look at them and the next thing you know, they're major league all-stars. So it is always fun to play that guessing game too. And, kind of play the role of scout and boy, how did I do with that guy? How did I do with this guy?
What's your record of, I saw this guy and knew he was going to be an all-star? Like, how well can you pick him?
It's a losing record, let me tell you. It's not great. Yeah. I mean, there are some, can't miss prospects. I think having a chance to see Brendan Rodgers, let's see, the last 2-3 years and see what he brings to the table. I mean, and we saw Garrett Hampson and Ryan McMahon for the time that they spent in Hartford. I mean, those are two guys that have the ability to be very good and to be rock stars of the game, I think anyway. A lot of it, guys, you just don't know about the health, right? Health is always the question mark and the wild card because a guy can have all the talent in the world and unfortunately goes down with an injury. Sometimes they just don't recover. But there's been guys that you look and say, he was a pretty good player and you see it coming up. I mean, looking with the Rockies organization, I mean, I think Trevor Story is one where you looked at his numbers. When I saw him in New Britain for the first time, it was actually his second year of AA. So the AA level, guys, is really interesting because they always talk about if you can make it to the AA level, you have a chance to make it to the big leagues. I mean, obviously, if a kid throws hard or hits a bunch of home runs in high school, college, you might get drafted, go to rookie ball, and then realize, well, maybe he's not as good as he thought he was when he's compared to some of these other kids. But you get through low A, you get through high A, you go to AA, and now you start opening some eyes. You're basically a phone call away. So AA is really, really important. Thus, you see some guys that struggle. They don't want to bump them to AAA, so they'll repeat. Trevor Story was that guy. Trevor Story played a season in Tulsa, the Rockies AA, before they moved to our organization in New Britain / Hartford, so to speak. So Trevor struggled that first year, but you could see, I heard, the pieces were all in place. And then his second year in AA, he was outstanding. The same really for Ryan McMahon. I mean, Mac, his first year, he hit some home runs, and you could tell he had the ability. But when he came back his second year, I thought he was probably the best player in the league that year. He didn't even have to stay the whole year. He, I think, was on his way, by sometime early June. He was off to AAA. And then I think he actually went up to Colorado at that point. So there are some guys that that you can see have all the tools, and you just hope that they just continue to get better.
Yeah, we're huge Brendan Rodgers fans. He's the man that we've been watching and trying to see him grow and at that major league level. And I think you hit it right on the head. Is the injuries are killing him right now, and it's very disheartening to see because, like you said, he has the talent. It's there. It's just, can he stay healthy enough? Can he prove it long enough at that major league level?
Yeah, he's had the injury bug, and I know the same with David Dahl. I mean, he had a horrific injury that I was actually at the microphone for in New Britain when he collided, and actually had to be taken to the hospital. And where everyone, I think, was just hoping that he would get over the injuries. And I know that the Twins and the Rockies ended up passing on him, for contract extension this year. But he has the ability. But again, you just don't know because of the whole factor of staying healthy, because at some point the Rockies have games to play. They need players that can go out there and help them win.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that was that the injury where he ruptured his spleen, actually?
He did, yeah, ruptured his spleen, yeah. Yeah, had to be taken to the hospital, and yeah, it was a scary moment for sure. Yeah, we had two horrific ones actually, back to back, and they were, interestingly enough, they were both center fielders. Both happened in New Britain Stadium. Byron Buxton, who's become a pretty good player for the Minnesota Twins, collided the year before. He actually collided with Mike Kwasnicka, who was an outfielder. They were converging on a ball, and that was more scary to me because Buxton at the time was out. He was completely knocked out. He hit him and knocked out, and they actually brought an ambulance onto the field. So you hate to see things like that, and I'm so happy that even though Buxton has had a injury-plagued career too, unfortunately at the major league level, but it was obviously good to see him, survive that and to get out there and then get up to the Twins.
Yeah, those freak accidents, like you never know. You have all that grass, all that room, and all of a sudden you're running into somebody that can just, injure you, almost devastate your career.
Yeah,
let's bring it up a little bit. What is the most memorable call that you've ever done, like in your career?
There's some big ones. I mean, I think most recently with the whole ballpark with getting into Dunkin' Donuts Park, and there was professional baseball in Hartford back years ago. It was something like 80 years ago. So I think we had to play on the road the 2017. We thought we were getting into the ballpark and it wasn't ready. And the team ended up spending the entire season on the road. So there were just so many people that worked so hard to make things happen. For the 2018 season, when we actually get in, Jens Almonte, who's with the Rockies now, he made their first ever start at the ballpark. So, I was at the mic that day and said, baseball is back in Hartford. And I think that was a recent one that was, that kind of sticks out there. But looking back, I called it was when the Rockcats at the time were affiliated with the Minnesota Twins, and Michael Cuddyer hit a walk-off home run against the Norwich Navigators, the Yankees affiliate at the time. And it was actually September 11th. And I didn't know this. No one really knew this at the time. But the story actually broke when Brad Thomas, who pitched a little bit for the Detroit Tigers, made it to the big league several years later. Well, obviously, with everything that happened in September 11th, if the Rockcats had lost that game, Brad Thomas, who was from Australia, was actually going to be on that flight that crashed into the World Trade Center. So it's absolutely insane when you think about this. So no one even knew this. Cuddyer didn't even know this at the time that it happened. And there's another Rockies connection, right? Michael Cuddyer, who won a batting title there a few years ago. Well, Michael hits the walk-off home run, and when Brad eventually gets to Detroit, they're playing the Twins, and Brad says, Michael Cuddyer saved my life. If Cuddyer hadn't hit that walk-off home run and we had lost, I was on that flight that goes into the World Trade Center the next day. So he was actually had the connector. It was the flight that went from Boston to it was heading to LA, and then he was going to change in LA and go to Australia where he lives. So, looking back at it, I thought it was a huge home run. It was a 3-2 pitch. He hit off Domingo Jean, who had pitched in the major leagues with the Yankees before. And it was actually the one game one. They ended up winning the best of 5 in 4 games, but that kind of got them over the edge in game 1. And we knew after that win, they weren't going to lose the playoff series. So that was obviously a big one at the time. And now you think about it, and once that story made the rounds, it even makes it one of the biggest home runs in Rockcat history just because of the elements of September 11th, 2001.
Yeah, it's crazy how the smallest detail can change somebody's life, right?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's definitely wasn't expecting something like that. That's remarkable. So I have to tell you something I'm guilty of. My wife and I actually got married on a pitcher's mound at a AAA stadium with the Iowa Cubs. So
Nice.
Media. I'm just curious, what's kind of the crazier marketing things or crazier requests you've gotten from fans maybe to do during a game or before a game?
I've gotten some myself, but I can only imagine some of the stuff our office gets because I don't get a lot of them. But no, I've had people call pictures on the field. I mean, at the ballpark, there's a YG club that actually is the second level, so it kind of overlooks the home plate area. So there's a lot of events, game day events. So they'll do weddings in there. They'll do bar mitzvahs. They will do birthday parties. It's challenging when the team is home during the season, but a lot of that stuff happens off season. Team go on the road. There'll be a wedding at the ballpark. So I've seen photos. I traveled the team, so I haven't been there for any of the weddings. I did have someone call and ask if they could do a baby announcement and come out and take pictures on the field. And I just thought they were going to actually take a couple of pictures with the camera. Next thing I know, they show up with like 3 photographers. I'm like, wow, this is a big deal, I guess. So, but yeah, there's been nothing, I guess, too insane. But it is a cool spot. And you know, we love people that obviously love the game of baseball. There's so many people that are so passionate about it. So people call and say, hey, you know, I had my first date at the baseball game, or I met my wife there, or, you know, whatever the case is. And they want that to be part of their history. We'll try and make it happen if we can. I tell you what, one thing we love to do is we love to say yes. We try to say yes as much as we can. And that's, I think, a lot of the folks in the minor leagues are like that as well.
It really is still America's pastime, right? So
it is.
So with COVID and everything, what have you been doing to kind of stay sharp, to stay involved? How are you, you know, not going stir crazy?
Yeah, there hasn't really been a lot, to be honest with you. You know, once the minor league operation shut down, it was, you know, basically, you know, game over for the season. So, you know, we're pretty optimistic that we'll be okay for, you know, good to see the news that they're getting the vaccine out there to folks. You know, hopefully we can, you know, have baseball and play in front of fans. That's what it's all about. It's hard for me. I love being around people. So this whole thing is, personally, it's been difficult because, you know, having to stay away from the crowds and things like that. But I mean, I know it's for everyone's best interest, but hopefully we'll get back there. I know all the teams want to play, obviously. And I know the major league teams want to play. I think the last thing in the world they want to do is lose another year of development. So it's important to get those guys out there. And, you know, you can do what you want, and you can hit in cages and you can hit off the tees, but there's nothing like facing that guy in a pressure situation, even though if it's AA or AAA, a pressure situation, a guy throwing 98 miles an hour that has an unbelievable slider, going to come at you with a changeup. I mean, you cannot replicate that in a practice situation. That's why there's nothing better than game situation. So I know that the major league teams want minor league baseball back in 2020. So hopefully it's safe enough for a return for everybody.
Yeah, they're going all across the majors. Were you following it, the major league, the minor league transitions as much as we are? Because this year seemed like there was such a big deal on that minor league affiliate switching all the way around.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I didn't know a whole lot that was out there. Yeah, Major League Baseball put together their their list of teams that they wanted to identify. And you know, we're very fortunate in Hartford with the situation with the ballpark and our relationship with the Rockies, their ownership group, and, you know, their general manager and farm director and many of their front office staff and scouts, they come through. So, you know, I was hoping for the best, and, you know, we're obviously excited when we heard the news that, you know, that Major League Baseball wanted us and the Rockies wanted us. But yeah, I know it was a challenging time for a lot of my peers, and I know with the Eastern League, it looks like the only change will be Somerset Patriots are going to replace the Trenton Thunder, which were a longtime Yankee affiliate and Red Sox affiliate as well. So that'll be the only change at our level at the AA Eastern League. But yeah, there are a lot of teams that are just changing leagues and things like that. They're trying to make things better for the prospects.
Yeah. So you've been in the booth for a hot minute. And like one of the cool things about going to the minor leagues is seeing all these players like develop, kind of like what you were referring to earlier. I was in Omaha for 3 or 4 years, and I was watching Lorenzo Cain, Eric Hosmer, Moose, Daniel Duffy doing his thing on the mound, and that was really exciting for me. Like, what's like the one player, 2 players that just stood out to you as a fan, like over all these years?
There's been so many. Mookie Betts was a pretty special player with the Portland Sea Dogs. He was one that I got right. I got a lot wrong. He was the one though that you didn't have to be an advanced scout to know that kid was going to be pretty good. Although I tell people all the time, a lot of fans don't know this. When he was in the minor leagues, he was a second baseman. So he came up and played second base. And there's a ton of Red Sox fans in these parts. And I used to tell people that, and Dustin Pedroia, who is a gigantic fan favorite around here, and I would tell Red Sox fans, wait to see the kid that's coming. And they're like, oh, no, we have Dustin Pedroia. We don't need this kid Mookie Betts. And I said, just trust me on this one. I said, Dustin is great, but Mookie doesn't have to dive for the balls that Dustin does, because his range is just so much better. And then now you see him go to the outfield, and I mean, he's obviously one of the top 4 or 5 players in the game right now. So he was really, really good. And I mean, for the Rockies, I mean, I loved McMahon. I thought when he came in and he has the chance to do some damage. I think Brendan Rodgers and Garrett Hampson too, very impressive. They have the chance to, they can change the game. They can change the game with their bat. They come up with a clutch hit. They can run. They can steal a base if you need it. And then the other thing that they do so well is they defend. So they can come in and make a nice defensive play too. So I think those 2 guys more recently have been 2 guys that I think can impact the game a couple of different ways. I tell you, the pitcher that I love, guys, too, is Ben Bowden, who we saw last year. He'll probably get a chance to come up at some point. Lefty pitcher. He's a Massachusetts kid. Big hockey fan, and he goes right at you. Got really good fastball, tough kid, and I think Rocky fans will like him a lot. He's a good one, and we saw a little bit. I know we got a chance to go up last year, but it was just for a cup of coffee. Antonio Santos, who hit triple digits a few times on the Dunkin' Donuts Park radar. I mean, he throws. I think he was 103 the day he pitched at home, but you can't teach that. He's got a really good slider. Ball moves a lot. He's got a chance to be really good too. He's just got to kind of get it all together. And he's just a young kid as well. So there's been some good ones for sure.
Yeah, Santos was thrown into the fire last year. I remember it was a blowout in like the first inning, and he got thrown into the first there. And I think like his second pitch on the mound, he got a grand slam hit off of him. And
I'm always amazed by these guys. They're absolutely freak athletes, right? They just take the game to the next level. And you talk to them about how they hit and how they pitch, and it's so far above anything else that we can all do. We just kind of watch and awe. But I remember asking one of the players one time, how do you hit that ball? It's coming 100 miles an hour. And they're like, well, Jules, no, it's just a timing thing. And I'd rather face 100 straight, or maybe not 100 straight, but 96, 97 straight, as opposed to 94 and have the thing moving all over the place. And I'm thinking, how do you even see it out of their hands? But they're just unbelievable athletes. I mean, they say, put a bat on a bullet. These guys could do that because they're just so good at what they do.
Yeah, they make it look so easy. And when you're watching it, I mean, a fastball goes right down the middle and you go, how do you miss that? How do you not swing that? And in reality, it's like, how do you even see that?
How do you see it? It's amazing.
Yeah, so we'll end it with this. The last time there was an opening day for the Yard Goats, Ryan Velotti, Ben Bowden, Philip Dahl, Colton Welker, and Brett Boswell were on the team, like really big prospects right now. Can you shed any light on this? You just talked about Bowden, gave us some insight on that. Hopefully we see him in 2020 and like lock up that bullpen. But this Velotti kid, I hear great things. Welker is going to be a stud. Like, what inside baseball can you give us on these guys?
Yeah, Welker's a gamer. He's a gamer. He's bring that bag lunch, and let's go to work. He's a really good player. Third baseman. good defensively, hits the ball over the fence. He's another guy that can impact a game. He's a terrific kid. Went to school. He's a high school kid out of Florida. He went to that Parkview High School that had the horrific mass killing, and he went to that high school. So he's done stuff for them, and he's given back, and he's gone and spoken there. And he wasn't there obviously when that happened, but Rizzo too. Rizzo went to that high school, so they know each other. So he's got a chance. He really does. He's got a chance to be pretty good. I was impressed with him last year. You mentioned Brett Boswell, college kid, really good swing, short swing, home run hitter. He's a guy that you look at his size, you might not say, well, he's not going to hit the ball over the fence. He hit some of the longest home runs I've seen at Dunkin' Donuts Park. He's got a lot of power for second baseman. So he's a major league guy, I think, for sure. Manny Melendez is another kid that he led the team in hits in 2019. He had 129 hits. An outfielder, has some tools, can go get it in the outfield as well. And Alan Trejo is another kid too that I liked a lot. Trejo played shortstop, and and people say all the time, well, they've got Brendan Rodgers, and they said the same thing. We saw Josh Fuentes go up. Well, he has no future of the organization because of his first cousin, Nolan Arenado. Well, guess what, guys? If you can hit, they will find a spot for you. You just have to hit, or you have to pitch, or you got to figure it out. You cannot worry about guys that are in front of you. And it's human nature to look, right? I look, you guys look. I know the players look and say, maybe I don't have a future with this organization, but guess what? I mean, Josh Fuentes went up there last year, and he's another one. He's one of my favorite people in the world. And to see him doing what he's doing and getting a chance to play, I think is spectacular, because I think he's a major league guy. I really do. I think if he has the opportunity to play every day, that he can, crack a lineup.
Josh was our best player for the last 30 days last season. And defensively at first base, he was fantastic too. So really glad you said that.
Yeah, we
He's
always
awesome.
joke that he actually earned his last name, Fuentes. He's no longer the cousin. He's actually Fuentes. Just how hot he came on at the end of last season. So
yeah, he was awesome. I mean, when he first came up the year before and hit the home run, and I know he was excited about it, but it's the big leagues and they lost the game. And obviously in Colorado, it's not about your first major league home run, even though I'm sure Nolan was extremely proud of his little cousin. But it's about winning. So I know he couldn't celebrate the way he would have loved to had they won that game. But I think he's got a chance to play a little bit now that they've got a chance to see him. And it is kind of cool when you have cousin to the corner, isn't it?
Right. You're going to play a little bit harder when family's around, right?
Right.
Whether it's the wiffle ball stories that we all hear or if it's on that major league field. So,
and here's a kid that who knows if, he's not related to Arenado, that who knows if he gets a chance, right? I mean, he goes undrafted and then he goes to a small school, and next thing you know, you give him a chance. And that's the thing about these players, guys, is that some just keep getting better. And that's the whole thing about the minor leagues. Some of the players continue to improve. Some guys peak. Some guys just unfortunately get worse, or just get overexposed is probably the better word. But the ones that continue to get better, that have a chance to play, are the ones that make it. And it's just so thrilled to see him up there and doing what he's doing. Hopefully he can stay healthy and he's got a chance with the Rockies next year.
yeah, for sure. That minor league grind, I think, kind of brings the diamonds to the top of the dirt, I think, a little bit. And if you can make it through that grind, all those seasons, and you can get your chance, right?
I know with Josh too. I mean, he would lean on Nolan a lot. They would talk all the time. And I remember when I first met, it was Josh's mom and Nolan's dad. I met them in spring training. And they were telling me that his mom told me that she remembered when Nolan went through the struggles. Can you imagine, right? You think now, right? One of the best 5 players in the game. And she remembers in A-ball when he would have those tough nights where he was ready. I'm not saying ready to quit, but a lot of the guys have never experienced failure till you get to pro ball. And now you got these 0 for 4 strikeout nights and go 3 games without a hit. And you wonder if you're ever going to get a hit again. So they were telling me that they remember the struggles that Nolan went through when he was in the minor leagues. You know, he obviously kept getting better and better. And, you know, it was really cool that Josh, you know, has his digits and he can call him when he needs some help.
Yeah, what better ear to have available at your whim other than Nolan across the diamond there.
That's right. You could do worse.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you so much, Jeff, coming on and being with us, talking with us. It was great. I love the Josh stories and the grind stories, the inside baseball stuff. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Aaron and James, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. Anytime.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right. You too. Thanks for having me, guys. Talk to you soon.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Thank you.
All right. You got it. Bye-bye.
So that interview with Mr. Dooley was incredible. Like, it was just fun to get the inside scoop on players, what it means to be a minor league, being the voice of something. I thought that was just really cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's not only the voice, he's an intelligent eye on the game. As somebody that's there day in and day out. And even us fans, you know, we miss a week or a couple of games and kind of out of the loop, but he's always there. So it's great to have that insight. Yeah,
that Josh Fuentes story, like the inside baseball stuff, that was really fun. And that story, the 9/11, 2011, 2001 story, I'd never heard that before.
That is crazy.
Never heard that before. So hopefully you enjoyed that interview. I know I did. It was great to listen, seeing the new guys coming up, what to look for, and just how the people in the minor leagues see these ball players moving on up. So hopefully you enjoyed it. So quick Rockies news. Not a lot going on. Winter meetings usually is when the hot stove starts heating up a little bit, goes to dial 2, dial 3. We are on dial 0 still. David Dahl, our boy David, got his contract for $3 million in Texas. How do we feel about that?
Still not happy about it because we could have had him for 2.5 or $3 million, but the Rangers only giving him a 1-year contract obviously tells you that the Rangers are even concerned about the injury history, which everybody is. And I hope he balls out, but I also don't want it to be another DJ LeMahieu situation, right? Because if that comes to fruition, then it's just more, not that we need it, but it's just more baggage against the front office to rail against them. So I hope the best for David, definitely. It's just unfortunate. I wish he was still doing it for us.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the sentiment across the board. He signed for $3 million. We can't afford $3 million. Here we go again. The pundits, the online pundits are off the rockers right now and just upset about David Dahl not being a Rocky, which we should be, like, right? That's our boy. That's our dude. But
yeah,
he's going to.
Just one thing I want to point out here about our outfield from the 2020 season. Obviously, it's the COVID season. It was 60 games, so
still a season. Still counts.
What's that?
It's still a season. It still counts.
Yeah, I mean, so in average, we were fantastic. Ramil Tapia, led the team. But our outfielders were 3rd in the league in average, which is fantastic. But we were 17th in OBP, on base percentage. And then we're 20th in OPS. So we're not hitting for a lot of power. We're 26th in home runs. So definitely not hitting for a lot of power, let alone extra base hits. And then we're 26th in created runs. So, and then you let our all-star David Dahl walk away. So I don't know how that situation is going to get any better.
And right, it's not like there's no, like, Hilliard has the potential to hit that power and drive in those runs, but it's going to be a hot minute. Like, you were guaranteed production from Dahl when healthy on the field. Like, that was going to happen. And now we don't have that. We have a polluted or populated outfield, according to Breitich. I don't see it. It's populated, but it's not as good as the rest of the league. Like you just said, we're bottom 20s and across the board. Like, it's
populated.
Going to be the savior.
It's populated, but not with anybody good. I mean,
Right.
he's going to probably hit for 300, which is fantastic, but he's not going to hit 20 home runs. You got Blackman, who's, he's technically still in his prime, but any day now could be that cliff, right?
It's coming real quick too. He's high
and defensively, he doesn't give you anything great. You got Desmond. God only knows what we're trying to do with him still. If they're going to have him catch next season or play first base or whatever, I don't know. But he's not going to get it done. We already know that. So I don't know what they're looking at, but what I'm looking at, it's going to be a rough year.
And the Dahl is just the salt on the wound again. And Rockies fans, we all know it. We have all heard it. We're all in the same boat. It's just how do we fill those gaps in? Brighter news, we locked up a bullpen arm for one more year with Mr. Daniel Bard, chest hair galore, buttons free, sex appeal 101, or right over there, $2.9 million a year for 1 year. I absolutely fucking love it. It's great.
Well, we watch bullpen implosions, so you don't have to. Bard is going to be that guy that's proven that he can do it at Coors and away from it. So anybody that proves that on any scale, please sign him up, but don't go out and sign bullpen arms for $120 million over 3 years and then have ERA over 7. If you know what I'm talking about.
We all know what you're talking about. I think this really excites me because he just solidifies our really back 4, back 5 pitchers. We have Daniel Bard, Scott Oberg, which we're all assuming that he's going to come in and do what he's done, and Yancey and Gibbons, all our back 4 loaded bullpen. So our bullpen is not that bad overall. We've added Stevenson. We've added a few other, hoping the other arms show up. It's still a work in progress, but we have a solid 4, solid 5 guys that I feel like we can actually count on.
Jury's still out on Givens because we don't know how consistent he's going to be at Mile High. But Oberg, you love Oberg because he's proven that even though he's not the A++ stuff, he's got the moxie to just compete and get guys out, which is what you need at Coors. So jury's still out on Givens, and we'll see what happens. But let's not sign these huge contracts like we did before, right?
And we have to give Brightest credit when credit's due. He has not signed any of those big contracts. He says his wallet's a little small right now, but he's not doing those contracts right now, which is, I guess, fine, right? This is what we're hoping for, what we're looking for, because it's just been a disaster in the past. So credit to you, Brett. It's just a little bit. So, and then we'll finalize the other good big news is the minor league affiliates. The Albuquerque Isotopes are still part of us. Hartford Yard Goats, we just talked to Dooley, still part of the Rockies organization. But we gained 2 newcomers, the Spokane Indians for our high A ball, and the Fresno Grizzlies are now the low A ball. The most interesting part about this is that Fresno was a AAA affiliate last year. How pissed is Fresno City right now?
Those lower clubs, it's funny how they kind of bounce around, especially those California teams, because we were the Modesto Nuts for a couple years, and then we were the Lancaster Hawks there for a little bit, and the cycle continues, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird. This year, Jeff talked about a little bit, it was a big circus, big unknown this year. But if I was in Fresno and I paid tax money for that sweet stadium, and now I'm getting single A ball instead of my AAA ball, it's a little bit different ball game, and they have every right to be upset. So that's going to be an interesting thing. I'm going to start doing some research on that. It's just, I'm very intrigued by how the people are feeling. We love minor league baseball, we love baseball, but that's a few steps back. So yeah, that's the banter, right? That's the banter. No happening in the winter meetings. Hopefully something happens soon.
The stove
Hopefully
is cold. The stove is cold.
It's not for the Mets. Thank you for listening to us. We are Blake Street Banter. One of us knows what the word banter means. One of us is along for the ride, and the other one is out saving doggies. We'll come back soon, Kirk.
Shout out, Kirk.
Go Rockies.